Hello, everyone. Welcome to 10 Minutes Astrology, the most easy way to learn astrology. I'm Rod Chang, and we couldn't do this 10 Minutes Astrology without Alejo.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
I don't know about everyone, but to me, yes, I think I really get this planetary impact about everything is changing. It's like running in and
Yes.
out, leaves, and that. I try to use a calm voice, but indeed it was like every day I'm just like, why? What is happening now?
Yes, it's very intense. I also feel it. Very, very intense. Yes.
Yeah, and imagine that we still know what's happening and why there is a feeling about it. Imagine we without astrology tool.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That could
agree.
be,
Yes.
yeah. Or maybe we will find something else, but also we will just like couldn't explain that anxiety or that kind of stressful things there.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree. Yes.
yeah. So today we're going to talk about the last set of minus aspect. Well,
hmm
there's a lot of minus aspect, like especially the Kepler aspect, but I think we focus on what we learned from the faculty. The minus aspect we talked about last week, we talked about the semi-square and this key quadrant, and they are related to the harmonic eight, and which is like a lot of eight. And today we're going to focus on another set, and also it's pretty interesting aspect because most people are curious about them, and also there's a lot of math behind these two set of aspects. So Alejo, what
Mm.
aspect are we going to talk about today?
We're going to be talking about semisextiles and quincunxes.
Semi-sextile and the quincunx, especially I think
Yes.
especially the quincunx. Oh, a lot of magic about it. People
I don't
usually
know
like
why. Why is there so much myth about it?
I think basically it's about a set of aspect pattern called finger of God.
It's because of that. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
everyone heard about a finger of God. It's like, oh, I have a finger of God on my this and that's composed by two sets of a quincunx. And usually people just like, what is that? And but it's true. I think is quality. Usually have literally the mysterious things because we are usually curious about things we don't know, we can't see,
hmm
and we don't understand. So, should we start to explain about what are they?
Okay, so the idea is we divide the circle 360 by 12
Mm-hmm,
and we get a degree of 30 degrees. So
mm-hmm,
basically, these planets are 30 degrees apart.
mm-hmm.
The symbol of the semisextile, it's just like a sextile, but you cut it in half. So it's the lower part of the sextile. Yes. No, it's the upper part of the sextile. Sorry, it's like a line and a little
Yeah.
pointing arrow down, let's say. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so the other one is the quincunx. The quincunx is 150 degrees.
Mm-hmm,
So it's basically 5 times a semisextile.
mm-hmm,
And the reason why we keep it, I mean, if you take 30 degrees and you do it twice, you get a sextile. So it's already another aspect.
mm-hmm,
If you do it 3 times, 3 by 30, you get a square. So it's already another aspect.
mm-hmm.
If you do it 4 times, 30 by 4, it's a trine. So it's already another aspect. But if you do it 5 times, then you finally get 150, which is the quincunx. So basically, the quincunx and the semisextile, they are of a similar quality.
Mm. Okay. And that's why we call it the harmonic 12. Anyway, if you don't know about this term, you can ignore it. But this is related to we divide. The quality is divided the whole zodiac, whole circle, 360 degree by 12. So you get 30 degree. And the one is 30 degree, another one is the 30 plus, not plus, time
By
5. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And yes, so what's their quality? Why they are so charming?
Mhm. So I would say the first thing, if you think about it, if it's 30 degrees apart, it
Mm-hmm,
means that the planet is in the following sign or in the sign
mm-hmm,
before. Yes.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's a planet making an aspect to the following sign or the sign before.
Mm-hmm,
if you think of 150, it's a similar thing, because you could go to the sign opposing the sign where the planet is, and again you would jump one sign each side. So it's like the sign that it's before or the sign that it's after the sign that's opposing the planet in question, let's say. Yes. So basically it's always, let's go with the semisextile. I think it's easier to see it. So you are in a sign, let's say you're at 15 degrees of Aries. So 15 degrees of Aries is doing a semisextile to 15 degrees of the following sign, which is Taurus, or 15 degrees of the previous sign, which is Pisces. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, what do Aries and Taurus have in common? Aries is cardinal, is fire, and is positive.
Yes.
And Taurus is fixed, it's earth, and it's negative.
Negative. Nothing in common.
Nothing in common. So this is the tricky thing about this aspect, that planets are coming from places that are a completely different world. It's like I cannot even imagine in my head what it's like to be in that sign, what it's like to be in that planet. I cannot even imagine it because it's so distant, it's so different from what I'm used to that it's impossible to imagine it.
Yeah, it is very interesting, especially so-called, we call it the minus aspect, which is because in the ancient time, most astrologers don't use it because in the ancient time, they use most likely the Ptolemy aspect. So that's all we learned before: conjunction, opposition, sextile, and square. But this kind of aspect are least useful in the ancient time, but more likely to be focused on the modern astrology. And so I know that in the ancient time they have a term called aversion that describe the planet in the two, a sign before or sign after. So that means, we can't see it and we don't understand. Even they say we hate it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I showed a chart to we can see the example about the how two planets from the semisextile and the quincunx together. Shall we?
Okay, yes. So in the meantime, while you pick it up, while you pull it up, I like to say also, so basically the idea is that these two planets are they find it hard to collaborate, but it's not like a strong tension. It's not like they are seeing each other all the time, because they don't see each other. So it's like they don't pay attention to each other. But when they come up, it's like, oh yeah, I remember this guy who's coming from this weird place. So there's this sense of not so much tension like a square, but there is a little bit of an effort that we need to do. So we have the idea of the planets feeling uncomfortable with each other.
Yeah. So in this chart, we use Gaudi. Gaudi is a very famous architecture in Spain. And in his chart, we can see very clearly a semi-sextile between the Venus and the Mars. So Venus is at 6 degree Leo, and the Mars is 7 degree Virgo. So the two planets is away from each other nearly 31 degree. And that is still in orb if we use the 2 degree orb for the natal chart. And so the Mars is in the sign next to the Venus. So that, like as we say, these two signs have nothing in common. The Leo and the Virgo, fire and the earth, fixed and mutable, positive and negative. They have nothing in common. But when they but that means when they form a semi-sextile, they probably have difficult to recognize each other.
Yes, I agree. Yes. And I would like to add, so we are using different orbs for different aspects. I don't know if you remember, we said for the square, the opposition, and the trine, we're using 8 degrees. For the sextile, 4 degrees. So now for the minor aspects, we go to 2 degrees. That's why Rod was saying, even if it's 31 degrees, we still take it into account.
Yes. So how we interpret this set of aspects when they are quincunx each other?
Well, I would think Venus in Leo, first of all, loves admiration, loves to create, loves to express what they have to express, and loves to be praised for that. They loves to be valued and acknowledged for that. Being in the 12th house, this is done perhaps in the service of the collective. Perhaps there's this idea of having to sacrifice, to do some kind of sacrifice in order for a higher idea of what art is or what creativity is or something like that. Now, with Mars in Virgo in the first house, I would say this person identifies a lot with their actions, especially if their actions are practical, grounded, and effective in the real world. So they want to do things that work. So I think the hard part to accommodate it, and I think you can really see this in his architecture actually, is that he wants to build things that are practical. He's pushed,
Yes.
he's driven by practicality with Mars in Virgo, and he identifies with that. Like he wants to enter a room and people say, this is the architect who's doing things that are very practical and very useful. But at the same time, he has this Venus in Leo in the 12th. He wants to create these grandiose, splendorous things that have a huge resonance with the collective unconscious. So this might not be so easy to accommodate with the idea of being practical.
So still, they need a lot of time to integrate these two planets together for him, because one haven't seen another. If he didn't aware, if he didn't realize that would be like, what's wrong with me? He probably like think, am I mad? This idea is not practical. Why I'm still obsessed with that? With a huge building nearly 1 century, still not finished yet.
Yes, exactly.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Yes, of course. Sagrada Familia.
Yes, but it's grand. It's amazing.
And also, like the way he built Sagrada Familia, he wanted to create a forest. So he was obsessed on how do I create the columns to make it look like a forest. So he had this kind of double thing. Like I want to be practical, I want to make it work, but I also want to create something that nobody else created, that will be imbued with the imaginary realm of the collective. And so he had to design a whole thing which has to do with a mirror. I cannot explain it now. I don't know how to explain it. But basically,
he was using,
he was using some ropes with weights on them to see how the weight is distributed down, and then he put a mirror on top and he twisted upside down, and with that he created Sagrada Familia. A genius.
He's a genius. Another aspect draw my attention at this moment is the Quincunx. So let's see, his moon is 10 degree Libra in the second house, and the Quincunx with Neptune. Oh, he is definitely a very Neptunian person. His Neptune in the Pisces and in the 7th house. So this is like a 150 degree or nearly just 151 degree. And this aspect that's what we call Quincunx. Still, again, the planet in the Libra and in Pisces, they don't share same element. They don't share same modality. They are not same in the polarity. Negative, opposite. So they are kind of don't know each other.
Yes. And I think you can see it. So with the moon in Libra, you would think that this person needs to create relationships that have to do with being graceful, like grace, the idea of grace, the idea of being civilized, the idea of being rational and disciplined and these kinds of things. But at the same time, he has Neptune in the 7th. So probably he meets somebody and he falls in love immediately. He's like very, he's very sensitive. He expresses a lot of his emotions in one-to-one encounters. So maybe also, again, he has to find a way to accommodate both. How to, if I need rationality and I need abstract and I need like a more civilized, detached approach to relationships, but at the same time, I'm looking to fuse with the other person, then it's hard to do both. So that's why they cannot see each other, I think.
Yeah, that is really interesting. But another thing that I realized is that especially with this moon in the second house in the Libra, in his artwork, there's a lot of things going on from the like the nature world, like from the material with the nature world, with the nature curve that Neptunian thing, with like the shape of a bomb, the shape of the tree or something, and he tried to mimic the shape of it and trying to put it into the structure, and somehow it's like a couple of days ago I gave a London Lodge of Astrology a talk, and we were in another building called Rudolf Steiner's building, and the similar shape at that time, and you can see all the curve, all the things is the character of that, and it remind me Gaudi, and I was just like it is so interesting. And would you say that's not nature? Well, you will only say that shape is not nature if you never see a bomb, if you never see a tree, and because our human mind is usually like a straight line, a triangle, a square,
Yes.
and a tidy line. But with all those beautiful curves, that is a nature thing, and we just like we couldn't recognize it, and we think it's unusual. But the
Yeah.
beauty was in that shape. So today we have a really good example about the Gaudi, and with like a Venus and the Mars in the semi-sextile, or the Moon, Quincunx with Neptune. They try to integrate all these kind of things together. Is kind of a very, very interesting view. So, well, I think usually we will give a practice. So, do you want to? Because we couldn't find this in the chart, but maybe we can choose two planets to do a exercise.
Yes, I would say do Mercury in Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
semi-sextile,
Uh-huh.
Jupiter in Quincunx, Jupiter in Scorpio, which is not the aspect that it has here,
Yeah.
but it could be. So let's
Yeah.
do that.
Okay. So.
Mercury in Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
Quincunx, Jupiter in Scorpio.
Yeah, okay. We have explained they are not in this chart. They are not quincunx, but try to image if this Mercury in the Gemini, but quincunx, the Jupiter in the Scorpio, and what's going to happen? Because one side could not see another side, and in the theme of this Mercury and the Jupiter, what kind of dynamic they're going to, and how they're going to put two themes together. It is not easy because this is not an easy aspect. Quincunx
No.
usually it's a pretty interesting, pretty magical, but also it make us spend a lot of time. Make us spend a lot of time to working with it. Somehow I do find about the quincunx is quite interesting. Let me share something before we end today. It is very interesting because I like the Sue Tompkins says when there's one time she talking about these two set of aspects. They say these two set of aspects make people together but don't understand each other. But usually you can see that in a relationship. It's a very interesting dynamic if in a relationship a two-person has the sign, has the planet in the quincunx sign, and you can see them their life, their situation together. It's not smooth or always against each other, but it's very super dynamic. And it's interesting because they don't know each other, so they spend a lot of time maybe to learn, to adjust, or to adjust or to learn each other. Why are you thinking in this way? And that is so interesting. Yeah. So Alejo, talk about the recent activity. I know we were so busy, but I think you have two talk in the faculty, right? Coming up.
Yes. So on the 30th of March, we do the webinar on the astrology of the hero's journey. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, it's how to read the hero's journey in a chart.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 1st of April, we're going to do I'm going to do actually
Yeah.
a webinar on the difference between signs and houses. So we've covered that a little bit here. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
it's a webinar focusing only on that because for us it's so important if you want to be a professional astrologer to understand this difference.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's going to be about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is a really, really essential topic about the difference between sign and the house, because there's a lot of people couldn't make a difference, and it's okay if you are happy with that. But to be honest, if you can make the clear definition about the house and the sign, it helps really. It really helps us to read the chart. So thanks for watching and listening 10 Minutes Astrology. Today we talk about semi-sextile and the quincunx. And next week, Alejo, we're going to start like a planet by planet. We will focus on the aspect with the planet. So, for example, next week we will start with the aspect with the moon. So, what they describe and how we're going to interpret it, and what we can focus on. So, well, so see everyone next week then. Bye.
Bye-bye.